I had just been dropped into the world of this novel. The housekeeper's son slapped himself across the face, then pointed a trembling finger at me, accusing me of hitting him. My 2 female bodyguards immediately got in my face, demanding answers. Caleb, just because we didn't camp out and watch the stars with you last night, this is what you do? How dare you lay a hand on Leo? Exactly. Get on your knees and apologize to him right now, or you'll deal with us. I had to laugh. These 2 were supposed to be my security detail, trained and employed by the Blackwell family since childhood, yet they really thought they were the ones in charge. I slapped both of them hard across the face. My voice was ice cold. When did the dogs start thinking they could snarl at their master? Mr. Sterling, I said, turning to the house manager, our African mining operations are staffed exclusively by men. We can't be accused of gender discrimination, can we? Send these 2 ungrateful brats over there. A slow, satisfied smile spread across Mr. Sterling's face. Right away, Mr. Blackwell. The 2 bodyguards just stood there, dumbfounded. This wasn't how the story was supposed to go. Seeing Chloe and Claire Pierce get hit, the housekeeper's son Leo scrambled to stand in front of them. Caleb, you can hit me. That's fine. But how could you hurt the sisters? He cried. I know this is all my fault. I shouldn't have called them back last night just because I twisted my ankle. Listening to Leo's pathetic, manipulative sob story, I quickly replayed the novel's plot in my head. The original Caleb Blackwell was the sole heir to the entire Blackwell group, but he was a total doormat, the story's resident punching bag. Last night had been his birthday. Chloe and Claire suggested they all go camping in the countryside to celebrate. But just as they finished setting up the tents, they got a call from Leo. The second they heard he twisted his ankle, they panicked, jumped in the car, and sped off, leaving Caleb completely alone in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't the first time they ditched him since his parents died in a car crash. There was the time they were supposed to go to a concert together. Caleb stood at the gate, tickets in hand, waiting until the entire show was over. They never showed, no calls, no texts. He only found out what happened when he checked their Instagram. They'd spent the day at Disneyland with the housekeeper's son. A photo showed them on either side of Leo, arms linked, smiling. The caption read, "An amazing day with our favorite guy at Leo Vance. Hope you're always this happy." The comments were filled with even more inside jokes and affectionate replies, every one of them dripping with love for Leo. Caleb had just stood there alone in the vast, empty plaza after the crowds had cleared, the cold wind making him shiver as he clutched the crumpled tickets in his hand. When Caleb and Leo both caught COVID-19, the sisters spent 7 days and nights at Leo's bedside. They never once went to see Caleb, and last night they'd taken the only car, leaving him behind without a second thought. Caleb was stranded in the dark, terrifying wilderness. He couldn't see a thing, and the woods were alive with the sounds of unseen animals and rustling leaves. Terrified, he knew he couldn't stay. He called the house manager, Mr. Sterling, to send a car for him. By the time he got back to the Blackwell estate, the sun was rising. The first person he ran into was the story's golden boy Leo, wearing a smug, triumphant smirk. Without a word, Leo slapped himself and framed Caleb for it, bringing us to the opening scene. The Pierce sisters might have been Caleb's bodyguards, but they grew up with him. He always treated them like older sisters, never like employees. He'd never even spoken harshly to them. And now, I had slapped them. Chloe and Claire were stunned, their eyes wide with disbelief. "Caleb, you actually hit us." Chloe's voice trembled with rage. "Just because we wanted to take care of Leo last night." Claire's eyes darkened with menace. "Caleb, it looks like we've been way too easy on you. It's made you arrogant and entitled." Seeing his chance, Leo immediately dropped to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "It's all my fault. Caleb, I'm the one who doesn't deserve their attention. Please don't take it out on them." He started slapping himself, the sound echoing in the cavernous hall. The sisters were heartbroken. They rushed to his side, each grabbing one of his hands. Claire pulled him into a hug. "Enough. Caleb is the one acting like a spoiled brat. How could this possibly be your fault? Leo, you're just too kind. That's why he's always bullying you. Chloe fixed her glare on me. Caleb, get down on your knees and apologize to Leo right now. If you don't, we're done with you. Leo's eyes were red as he tugged on their sleeves. Claire, Chloe, please don't fight with Caleb because of me. It's all my fault. I'm just the housekeeper's son. Chloe comforted him briefly before turning her fury back on me. Caleb, are you deaf? I said, get on your knees. Leo shot me a look of pure triumph. My mind finally pieced together the novel's plot. In the original story, these two backstabbers, along with Caleb's adopted sister and his fiancée, conspired to have him killed. The day after Caleb's wedding to Victoria Croft, they locked him in the basement and tortured him to death. After Caleb's death, Victoria Now, his widow, inherited the entire multi-billion-dollar Blackwell fortune. She then signed it all over to the Golden Boy. Leo became the CEO of the Blackwell Group, and all 4 women became his personal harem. He got his perfect happily ever after ending. When I first read that ending, I was disgusted. I cursed the author out loud. And then I woke up here. I looked at the 2 hypocrites still barking at me. A cold smirk touched my lips, and my voice cut through the air like a whip. Chloe and Claire Pierce, you ungrateful traitors. You eat my food. You live in my house. You were raised on my family's money. And now you, the help, have the audacity to demand that I, your employer, kneel to you? I turned to the house manager. Mr. Sterling, back in the old days, what would happen to insubordinate servants who couldn't tell master from staff? Mr. Sterling was an old-timer. He'd been with the family since before I was born and had watched me grow up. He had always been deeply disappointed in the original Caleb's weakness. Now, hearing my question, his eyes lit up. He practically vibrated with excitement. Sir, servants like that would have been beaten to death without a second thought. I shook my head with mock regret. A pity they were born in more civilized times. Let's just have them disciplined. Slap their faces. Don't stop until they remember their place. A smile of pure relief and satisfaction bloomed on Mr. Sterling's face. Yes, Mr. Blackwell. He had been waiting for this. He couldn't stand how the sisters had taken advantage of the young master's kindness, growing more and more arrogant. They acted like royalty, never giving him the head of household staff the time of day. Now that the young master was laying down the law, he would back him completely. Mr. Sterling gestured with his hand. 8 security guards from his own team stepped forward for grabbed Claire, pinning their arms behind their backs. What are you doing? Let us go. Chloe screamed, struggling furiously, but unable to break free. Claire glared at me, her eyes practically shooting fire. Caleb, are you crazy? You wouldn't dare touch us. The response came from Mr. Sterling himself, who strode forward and delivered a resounding slap across her face. Is the young master's name something you can shout so casually? Mr. Sterling's face was grim. You have no discipline. The young master was kind to you, and you 2 dogs forgot who's the boss and who's the servant. Teach them. Don't stop until they learn the rules of this house. Slap, slap, slap. The 8 guards were tough, handpicked by Sterling. They followed orders without hesitation and had zero qualms about hitting a woman. The great hall filled with the relentless, sharp sound of slapping. The sisters had never been humiliated like this in their lives. First came the shock, then a tidal wave of uncontrollable rage and shame. Caleb, if you do this, we'll never speak to you again. Caleb, you bastard, stop it. Just wait until your sister gets home. Isabel, my adopted sister. Family in name only. No matter how much they struggled or screamed, it was useless. It only earned them harder slaps. The pain slowly broke them down. Their eyes shifted from shock and rage to a dawning primal fear. Caleb, please stop. We won't make you apologize. Okay? Watching their faces swell, blood trickling from the corners of their mouths, Leo stood frozen. This was completely wrong. According to the script, Caleb should be panicking right now, desperately trying to explain himself. Maybe even offering gifts to make up for it. But this cold-faced Caleb, having them publicly disciplined, A flicker of panic shot through Leo's heart. Quick as ever, he scrambled over and threw himself at my feet, sobbing, "Caleb, please, no. It's all my fault. Please let Chloe and Claire go. Stop hitting them." The housekeeper, Mrs. Vance, rushed over and knelt before me, pleading, "Young master, please stop. If Miss Isabel comes home and sees this, she'll never let you hear the end of it." My eyes dropped to her wrist. A diamond bracelet glittered there. That bracelet was worth over $15 million. It had been one of my mother's most prized possessions, and now it was on the wrist of the housekeeper. She'd gotten a little too comfortable thinking of herself as the lady of the house. "Interesting," I spoke calmly. "Mrs. Vance, if I remember correctly, that bracelet on your wrist belonged to my mother? I'm curious how it ended up with you. My father won that piece for her in a record-breaking bidding war at Sotheby's. It's worth $15 million. All the receipts and appraisals are on file. You certainly have good taste." "What? $15 million? The other maids, who had been watching from the sidelines, gasped. Double quotes, "Mrs. Vance, how could you? Oh my God, she's a thief. How could she dare steal something so valuable?" That was the mistress's. None of my mother's jewelry was cheap. Mrs. Vance went pale. She never imagined that speaking up for her son would implicate her. She quickly tried to hide the bracelet, her eyes wide with terror before bursting into theatrical sobs. "Young master, I was wrong. I didn't know it was so valuable. I was just borrowing it to wear for a bit. For the sake of all the years I've served you, please forgive me this one time. I'll never do it again." I ignored her and turned to the house manager. "Mr. Sterling, have some men search Mrs. Vance's room. See what else she's borrowed." A hard glint appeared in Sterling's eyes. He bowed. "Yes, Mr. Blackwell. I've suspected for some time that her hands weren't clean. It's just that before..." He trailed off, but the meaning was clear. The old Caleb was too much of a pushover, letting the staff walk all over him. Even if Sterling had spoken up, the old Caleb would have brushed it off, making Sterling look like the bad guy. It wasn't worth the trouble. But now, seeing the young master's transformation, he stood straighter. With a wave of his hand, 2 guards moved forward. Ignoring Mrs. Vance's wails and struggles, they restrained her and held her to the side, while several others rushed quickly toward her living quarters. The scene was so shocking that Chloe and Claire, who were still being disciplined, forgot the pain in their faces and just stared in silence. Leo's face went pale as a sheet. He knew his mother had been taking things from the Blackwells. He even knew she secretly sold off smaller items to give him extra money, and he had encouraged it. But he never imagined that after Mrs. Blackwell died, his mother would dare to take a $15 million bracelet. And he never dreamed Caleb would expose it in front of everyone. "Caleb, don't..." My mom just got confused for a moment. "She served your family for so many years. She may not have great achievements, but she's worked hard, hasn't she?" Leo pleaded. He lunged forward to grab my legs, but I kicked him away. "You little bastard," I sneered. "She thinks a little hard work gives her the right to steal millions from her employer. And she raised a son who thinks he can frame the master of the house and turn the staff against him." Just then, the guards returned from their search. They placed an exquisite jewelry box on the table along with a pile of designer handbags and clothes. "Sir, Mr. Sterling, we found these in a box under Mrs. Vance's bed." "What?" one guard said. He opened the jewelry box to reveal several valuable pieces, including a limited edition designer watch. Mr. Sterling picked up an imperial jade necklace, his face flushing purple with rage. This necklace, the mistress wore it all the time, and this watch, it was one of the master's prized collectibles. His voice shook with anger, his eyes burning. "That damned woman. The Blackwells have been nothing but generous to you and your son, and this is how you repay them? You're worse than animals." The evidence was undeniable. The room erupted in murmurs. The staff had long resented Mrs. Vance, especially after the mistress died. She acted like she owned the place, just because her son was everyone's favorite. She never worked, spent her days looking down on them, and berated them for the smallest things. They had bottled up their anger for years, and now, seeing her downfall, it felt satisfying. My God, She stole so much. What a classic case of biting the hand that feeds you, someone whispered. The mistress was so good to her. She treated her son like her own. And now she steals after her death. Unbelievable. Mrs. Vance collapsed to the floor, her eyes hollow with despair. I glanced at the stolen goods and sneered inwardly. The original Caleb really was blind to be fooled so easily by this mother-son pair. Mr. Sterling, call the police, I ordered coldly. Give them all the evidence. I want her prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. No, don't call the police, young master. Mrs. Vance suddenly snapped out of her daze, crawling toward me on her hands and knees, banging her head on the floor. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please, for all the years I've served you, served this family, please forgive me, just this once. I'll give everything back. It's all here. I swear there's nothing else. Leo panicked. If the police got involved, his mother's life was over. He'd never hold his head high again in this house. He rushed forward and begged beside her. Caleb, it was my fault. I shouldn't have provoked you. Punish me instead. Do anything you want to, Meej. Don't call the police. I looked down at them, my eyes full of mockery. Don't call me that. You're just the housekeeper's son. You don't have the right. Now you know how to beg. When your mother was stealing my family's property, when you were framing me, did you think of the consequences? Too late, Mr. Sterling. Get them out of my sight. The house manager waved his hand, and the guards stepped forward, dragging them away to await the police. Mrs. Vance screamed like a pig being slaughtered until one guard backhanded her into silence. Leo cried out, reaching for his mother, but a guard shoved him back. Suddenly, a sharp, angry voice cut through the chaos. Everyone, stop this right now. I looked up to see a young woman in a designer power suit striding into the hall. Her makeup was flawless, her expression cold as ice. It was the Blackwells' adopted daughter, my so-called older sister, Isabel Blackwell. She was supposed to be at an important business conference, but clearly, someone had called her and she rushed back. The first thing she saw was the chaos. Mrs. Vance and Leo being dragged away, the Pierce sisters bruised and held aside. Isabel's perfectly arched eyebrows shot up as she glared at me. Caleb, what in the world do you think you're doing? Her sharp eyes burned with disgust and blame. Throwing the whole house into chaos first thing in the morning. I've been too lenient with you, letting you get so out of control. Now, tell them to let Mrs. Vance and Leo go. Right now. The guards hesitated, unsure of what to do. The Pierce sisters and the Vances lit up with hope. Leo wailed, Isabel, help me. It was as if their savior had arrived. They all cried out, recounting my so-called cruelty. Let them go, Isabel ordered. I laughed, like I had just heard the world's funniest joke. A thief who stole over $15 million worth of property and her son, who conspired to frame me, and you want me to let them go? Who do you think you are? Isabel froze, clearly not understanding the full weight of the situation. What nonsense are you talking about? Isabel snapped. At that moment, Mr. Sterling stepped forward, speaking with respect. Miss Blackwell, the young master, isn't talking nonsense. The evidence is undeniable. We found a large quantity of the late mistress's jewelry and the master's watches in Mrs. Vance's room. The total value is close to $20 million. The case is clear. The young master was preparing to hand it over to the police. Isabel's eyes fell on the priceless items Mr. Sterling displayed, then shifted to the guilty expressions on Mrs. Vance and Leo. Her face went pale. For a moment, she was speechless, but quickly turned her anger back toward me. Even if Mrs. Vance made a mistake, couldn't you handle this privately? Do you really need to make a public spectacle and drag the Blackwell family's name through the mud? Then she pointed at Chloe and Claire. And what about them? What did they do that was so wrong? Why would you humiliate them like this? They're your security detail. You're completely out of control. Out of control. My gaze turned ice cold. These two dogs eat the Blackwell family's food and take the Blackwell family's money. Yet their loyalty is to the housekeeper's son. They tried to intimidate Mitha, head of this household, even forced me to kneel and apologize to a servant's child. Tell me, Isabel, who's really out of control? Me or them for their outrageous insubordination? Isabel's chest rose and fell with fury. If they told you to kneel and apologize, then you should have done it. If you didn't bully Leo all the time, would they have had to force you? If you were half as decent as he is, they never would have treated you like that. I slapped her across the face. The sharp sound echoed through the mansion's great hall. Isabel, maybe you need a reminder of your place in this house. You are the adopted daughter, a charity case my family took in. My parents were kind enough to give you a life of luxury and a good name. They didn't do it so you could lose your judgment and lecture me, the sole heir to the Blackwell fortune. This family's name is Blackwell. It's not your place to tell me what to do. My words hit like thunder. The hall fell silent. Isabel froze, her face turning purple with rage and humiliation. Panic flickered in her eyes as the reality of her adopted status being thrown in her face sank in. The old Caleb would never have dared. But now, not only had I said it, I had slapped her. You. She pointed a trembling finger at me, unable to speak. Finally, she gritted her teeth. Fine. Just fine. I'm the CEO of the Blackwell Group now. As of this moment, you're banned from setting foot in the corporate headquarters ever again. For a second, I thought I misheard her. Ban me from my own company? Was this novel really so absurd? I pulled out my phone, put the digital copies of my father's will and the stock inheritance agreement, and shoved the screen in her face. Isabel, open your eyes and look. I am the sole heir and majority shareholder of the Blackwell Group. Firing you as CEO is as simple as me saying the words, ban me from the company. Are you insane, or am I? I turned to the house manager, my tone sharp. Mr. Sterling, contact Keith in the executive office and the board of directors, effective immediately. Isabel Blackwell is terminated from all positions in the Blackwell Group. Issue a press release announcing that I will assume the role of CEO myself, Mr. Sterling's. Eyes lit up with emotion, he looked so relieved he might cry. Yes, Mr. Blackwell, I'll do it right now. He had waited for this moment for years. Isabel had filled the company with her own people and pushed out the loyal old guard, breeding resentment everywhere. Now the young master was finally taking back control. Mr. Sterling immediately pulled out his phone, his voice booming with authority as he contacted the executive assistant and board members. This man had been a pillar of the Blackwell family since my grandfather's time, serving him and my father. The last few years, watching the original Caleb stumble, had been torture for him. Now, his voice carried its old strength again. Isabel stood frozen. She saw the legally binding documents on my phone. She heard Mr. Sterling decisively executing my orders. A bone-deep chill crept from her feet to her head. No, don't. You can't do this, she shrieked. Her carefully maintained facade of icy arrogance shattered, replaced with raw panic. The company is in the middle of a critical transition. I'm personally overseeing major projects that have been in the works for years. You can't fire me? If something goes wrong, how could you face Mom and Dad? Still trying to use the company as leverage? I looked at her with nothing but scorn. Losses? You mean like Dr. Evelyn Reed, the VP with dual doctorates in economics and law, from Yelf, the woman who took a failing company and turned it into an industry leader? You demoted her? Why? Because she complained that you kept leaving critical meetings to hang out with your boy toy? I leaned closer, my voice dripping with contempt. Leo, in terms of business acumen, who do you think is more qualified? Evelyn Reed, or a hack from a second-rate college like you? Keeping you in the CEO chair is the biggest liability the Blackwell Group has. I paused, staring at her coldly. This is my family's company. I'll handle it myself. I don't need some outsider who bites the hand that feeds her worrying about it. The word outsider cut into her like a knife, tearing apart the last of her defenses. Isabel's face turned ghostly pale. She nearly collapsed. The one thing she had always relied on. Her greatest source of power and pride, her role as CEO of the Blackwell Group, had just been stripped away by the very little brother she had always mocked. The maids and security guards stood frozen. not daring to breathe. They were stunned. Today, the young master hadn't just dismissed a few bodyguards and a thieving servant. He had crushed the high and mighty Miss Isabel, slapped her, and fired her without hesitation. It was unthinkable. Leo and the Pierce sisters looked completely lost now. Their biggest backer, their shield, had fallen. Terror and despair filled their eyes. "No, Caleb, you can't," Isabel pleaded, her voice shaking. I didn't even look at her. Instead, I spoke to Sterling, who was still on the phone. "Notify corporate security immediately. Revoke all of Miss Blackwell's office keys and access cards. Give her 24 hours to clear out her personal belongings. After that, anything left goes in the trash." "Yes, sir," Sterling replied. Isabel's hope crumbled. She stared at my cold profile and finally understood. The brother she thought she could control was gone. Her status, her pride, her power shattered to dust in one moment. Fear finally broke through. She rushed forward, grabbing my arm. "Brother, I was wrong. You can't do this to me. I'm your sister." I turned and patted her cheek with mocking gentleness. "Oh, my sister. Do you remember when Leo accused me of pushing him down the stairs? I begged you to check the cameras, but you said it wasn't necessary. You locked me in the basement for 3 days and nights. That was you, wasn't it? And when Leo wanted to try dog meat, you ordered them to kill and cook the golden retriever I'd raised for 3.5 years. That was you too, right? Just a few minutes ago, didn't you say that if they wanted me to kneel, I should kneel? And now you suddenly remember you're my sister? Where's your shame?" Each word hit her like a hammer. Isabel's face drained of color, her lips trembling, unable to deny any of it. The scornful stares from everyone around her were harsher than any punishment. She lunged again, tears running down her face. "I was wrong, Caleb. It was my fault. I'll make it up to you, I swear." Her tears disgusted me. "You're not sorry, you're scared." I turned away and gave my final order. Sterling locked Miss Blackwell in the basement. No one lets her out without my permission. And in 24 hours, I don't want to see a single one of her belongings anywhere in the Blackwell estate. Yes, Mr. Blackwell. 2 guards immediately grabbed Isabel by the arms. "No, Caleb, you can't. I'm a young lady of this house," she cried, her voice breaking, and just then, another cold voice echoed. "Caleb, what's all this drama? Isabel is your sister. How could you treat her like this?" It was Victoria Croft, Caleb's fiancée. I couldn't help but laugh. The whole fan club for Leo was here today. How amusing. Leo spotted her and clung to his chance at salvation, sobbing loudly. "Victoria, Caleb's calling the cops on my mom and locking Isabel in the basement. You have to stop him." Victoria frowned at me. "Caleb, are you just jealous we're nice to Leo? Did you really need to go this far? Let Isabel go, apologize to Mrs. Vance and Leo, and let's just move on." She softened her tone when she saw my silence. "Come on, stop making a scene. Be more magnanimous. That's the only way I'll ever like you, you know?" I slapped her across the face. The sharp crack silenced the hall. Victoria clutched her cheek, her eyes wide with disbelief. She had never imagined that I, the fiancé, always bent to her, would dare hit her in public. The room went dead quiet. Everyone knew how the old Caleb treated her words as law. And now, he had just slapped her. Impossible. Victoria had been worshipped for too long. After the initial shock, her face twisted with rage. "Caleb, how dare you hit me? Who do you think you are? If you don't get on your knees and beg for forgiveness, this isn't over." Her threat was so absurd, I laughed again. "Forgiveness? My ass." I slapped her again, this time on the other cheek. "Victoria, who gave you the right? 5 years ago, you and your mother were in a horrible car accident. A sports car hit you, sent you flying. Your mother died instantly. The car caught fire and you were trapped in the driver's seat. Seconds from death. Do you remember who risked his life to drag you out?" The memory pierced through her anger. She remembered. Just 3 seconds after I pulled her from the wreckage, the car exploded in flames. Without me, she would have been dead. After that day, the original Caleb moved by her beauty and fragility. Only later did he find out she was the Croft family's illegitimate daughter. Because of his devotion, the Crofts had no choice but to acknowledge her, even naming her an heir candidate. For 5 years, Caleb gave her everything, and she spent those years fawning over the housekeeper's son before my mother died. She entrusted Victoria with the Blackwell heirloom jade bangle passed down for generations. The very next day, it was on Leo's wrist. When the original Caleb demanded it back, Leo smashed it by accident. And Victoria's response then was the same as now, telling him to be more magnanimous. I'll handle it myself. I don't need an outsider who bites the hand that feeds her worrying about it. The word outsider cut into her like a knife, shredding the last of her defenses. Isabel went deathly pale and nearly collapsed. Her greatest source of power and pride, her role as CEO of the Blackwell Group, had just been stripped away by the pathetic little brother she'd always looked down on. Maids and guards around them dared not breathe. Today, the young master hadn't only dealt with the bodyguards and a thieving housekeeper he'd taken down high and mighty. Isabel slapped her and fired her in front of everyone. It was earth-shaking. Leo and the Pierce sisters looked utterly lost. Their biggest protector had fallen. Terror and despair filled their eyes. No, Caleb, you can't, Isabel pleaded, voice trembling. I didn't bother to look at her. Sterling, I said to the house manager, who was still on the phone, notify corporate security immediately. Revoke all of Miss Blackwell's office keys and access cards. Give her 24 hours to clear out her personal belongings. After that, anything left will be thrown out. Yes, sir, Sterling answered, barely containing his relief. Isabel's hope collapsed. She stared at my cold profile and finally understood. The weak little brother she once controlled was gone. Her status, power, and pride had been crushed into dust in a single moment. Fear broke through. She lunged forward and grabbed my arm. Brother, I was wrong. You can't do this to me. I'm your sister. I turned and patted her cheek with deliberate condescension. Oh, my sister. Remember when Leo accused me of pushing him down the stairs? I begged you to check the security cameras and you said it wasn't necessary. You locked me in the basement for 3 days and 3 nights? That was you, wasn't it? And when Leo wanted to try dog meat, you ordered them to kill and cook the golden retriever I'd had for 3.5 years? That was you too, right? And just minutes ago, you said if they wanted me to kneel, I should kneel. Now you suddenly remember? You're my sister. Where's your shame? Each question hit like a hammer. Isabel went bloodless. Her lips trembled, and she couldn't deny a single accusation. The contemptuous stares of everyone in the room were worse than any slap. She lunged again, tears streaming. I was wrong, Caleb. It was my fault. I'll make it up to you. I swear. Her tears disgusted me. You're not sorry, you're just scared. I turned back to Sterling. Lock Miss Blackwell in the basement. No one lets her out without my permission. In 24 hours, I don't want to see a single one of her belongings on any Blackwell property. Yes. Mr. Blackwell. 2 guards seized Isabel's arms. No, Caleb. You can't do this. I'm a young lady of this house, she cried, voice breaking. At that moment, another cold voice cut through the hall. Caleb, what is all this drama about today? Isabel is your sister? How could you treat her like that? It was Victoria Croft, the original Caleb's fiancée. I laughed inwardly. Another member of Leo's fan club had arrived. Leo saw her and sobbed like he'd found a savior. Victoria Caleb's calling the cops on my mom and he's locking Isabel in the basement. You have to stop him. Victoria hurried up to me, brow furrowed. Caleb, are you just jealous that we're nice to Leo? Did you have to go this far? Let Isabel go, apologize to Mrs. Vance and Leo, and we can all move on. Her tone softened when my face gave nothing back. Come on, stop making a scene. Be more magnanimous, maybe. Then I'll like you. I slapped her clean across the face. The crack silenced the hall. Victoria clutched her cheek. Eyes wide with disbelief, she had never imagined the fiancé she'd commanded, would hit her publicly. The room was stunned. Everyone knew how the old Caleb had treated Victoria's words like law. And now he had slapped her. Her shock turned to fury. Caleb, how dare you hit me? Who do you think you are? Get on your knees and beg for my forgiveness or this isn't over. Her melodrama made me laugh. Forgive my ass. I struck her again, this time on the other cheek. Victoria, who gave you the right? 5 years ago, you and your mother were in that horrible car crash. A sports car hit you. It exploded. Your mother died. You were trapped seconds from death. Do you remember who risked his life to pull you out? The memory cut through her rage. She remembered how 3 seconds after I dragged her free, the car erupted in flames. Without me, she would have died. After that incident, the original Caleb pursued her relentlessly. Later, he discovered she was the Croft family's illegitimate daughter. Because of his attention, the Crofts had to acknowledge her and even name her a candidate to inherit the family business. For 5 years, he'd out-D on her. And she spent that time fawning over the housekeeper's son. Before my mother died, she gave Victoria a Blackwell heirloom, a jade bangle passed down for generations. The next day, it was on Leo's wrist. When the original Caleb demanded it back, Leo dropped and shattered it. And Victoria's response then was the same as now. Be more magnanimous. Calm down. A horrifyingly cold laugh escaped Victoria's lips. Calm down? How am I supposed to calm down? I never had a father. My mother raised me alone. You killed my mother and played me for a fool all these years, and you expect me to calm down? Her head snapped toward Leo. The warmth and affection in her eyes vanished, replaced by a bottomless well of disgust and hatred. I treated you, a murderer, like a treasure. For you, I hurt the man who saved my life over and over. For you, I've lost everything. She whipped her head to Isabel, teeth clenched. And you, Isabel Blackwell, I trusted you. I treated you like my own sister. You helped this murderer cover it up. You are monsters. Worse than animals. The rage and betrayal finally pushed Victoria over the edge. She let out a blood-curdling scream, snatched a fruit knife off the coffee table, and lunged at Leo. You goddamn murderer. You lied to me? Give me back my mother. Her eyes burned red with a need to destroy. She stabbed him again and again, 13 times. It was sudden and brutal. Nobody expected Victoria to snap like that. By the time the guards forced their way through to restrain her, Leo's chest was a mangled, bloody mess. He collapsed to the floor, convulsed a few times, and went still. The thick, metallic smell of blood filled the great hall. Screams erupted. Mrs. Vance cradled Leo's body. Howling, Leo, my boy, wake up. Look at mommy. Someone shouted for an ambulance. Someone else called the police. The Pierce sisters and Isabel stood frozen, staring at the lifeless form of their golden boy as if their world had ended. Victoria was disarmed and pinned to the floor. Looking at Leo's corpse, she began to laugh, wild, unhinged laughter. I watched the bloody scene unfold with cold detachment. Leo, the pampered protagonist, had been killed by his most devoted follower. I felt a grim, ironic satisfaction. He got what he deserved. The police finally arrived. I had Mr. Sterling hand over the security footage as evidence. Victoria, Isabel, Mrs. Vance were taken into custody. Mrs. Vance's theft totaled nearly $20 million. She wouldn't be getting out anytime soon. Isabel, besides covering up the theft and destroying evidence, had used her CEO position to transfer company assets to a shell corporation for Leo. The sums were substantial. She was looking at life behind bars. That left the Pierce sisters on their knees, begging for mercy. Mr. Blackwell, we were wrong. Please give us one more chance. We'll be loyal, we swear. I looked at their terrified faces without pity. Mr. Sterling, about our mining operations in Africa. They're staffed exclusively by men. A major multinational like ours can't appear to be engaging in gender discrimination. These two are still under contract. Have them sent over immediately. They can protect the male miner safety, I said. A deeply satisfied smile spread across Mr. Sterling's face. Yes, Mr. Blackwell. No matter how they screamed and struggled, the sisters were dragged away. At last the mansion fell quiet. Ding. Congratulations, host, for binding with the ultimate villain system. By successfully eliminating the world's pampered protagonist, you can now return to your original world at any time, taking all the wealth you've acquired here. Let the system teach you how to resolve this crisis and crush the protagonist. Method 1. I swore under my breath. System, are you kidding me? I already finished the mission and you're only showing up now. The system glitched for 3 seconds. What? It's finished already? Me get lost. System. Roger that. The end.